Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name's Josh and today we're going to be reviewing the new Pixar film Elemental, which just dropped this weekend. I managed to catch it yesterday and I wanted to give myself a day to think about it because I do have some mixed feelings on the movie. I am going to try to keep this one fairly short because I don't think anybody watches a review for a Pixar film looking for some super deep analysis of the story in order to decide whether or not they want to go see it. Also, I do see a lot of the narrative of people saying, why do we have a bunch of adults reviewing movies that are essentially made for kids? And I do take issue with that because I think there are a lot of themes in basically a ton of the movies that Disney has made over the past couple of decades that have a lot of mature themes that maybe kids don't pick up on, and adults can get things from them too. Sure, even a bad Disney or Pixar film, which is under Disney, is probably going to entertain young kids, but I also think that you can look at them objectively and try to search for actual meaningful messages within the story. So with that said, the two Pixar films that we got last year were pretty disappointing. I didn't really care for Turning Red or Lightyear. However, I was never one to jump aboard the hate train for this movie pre-release. I know a lot of people watched the trailer for this and instantly assumed that it would be a pretty shitty Pixar movie. Granted, I didn't watch that first trailer and think, oh wow, this is going to be a tour de force, but I also was willing to give the movie a fair shot before judging it. And the premise for this one is pretty simple. The allegories for real life things and themes are pretty obvious. Some of them are extremely familiar. We've seen them done 100 times before. But I really think this movie is going to become somewhat of a comfort film for some people. And by that I mean that it's warm, sometimes literally, sorry for the bad pun. It's inviting, generally low in stakes, and it has some really endearing romance in it. The story takes place in Element City, in which all of the residents exist as one of the four Greek elements, those being air, earth, water, and fire. Why? Who really knows? The movie doesn't really explain why any of this exists. At least in something like Inside Out, you understand why all of the characters exist as stereotypes of different emotions going on in someone's head, because you can connect it to what you would expect to be going on in the real mind of a young girl. Here we just have this bizarre fictional world, and we're never really given too much context as to why it exists. And I do think it might be a tad bit harder to connect to it because of that. In Elemental, Ember is the daughter of an immigrant from the place where fire people live. I cannot for the life of me remember what it was called. Anyways, the residents of Element City don't exactly take nicely to her family, and they aren't very friendly to her. And there's the obvious metaphor number one, which is xenophobia. It does feel a little bit on the nose, but I think it really works for the message that they're going here, the whole opposites react tagline. Ember eventually meets this water dude named Wade, and they spark up a romantic relationship. And that's about half of the plot of this movie, and I think it's by far the best part. Whenever Elemental consists of just these two characters exploring the city and trying to make their relationship work despite the fact that they're quite clearly absolute opposites, I think it's really good, it's fun, it's endearing. Also, being that it's a Pixar film, it looks magnificent. I really love the way they animated the fire and water people in particular. Air and earth maybe don't have quite as much to do as the other two, but I do like that they still find a lot of creative and clever ways to remind us that we're in this world of elements. One example would be air people traveling via hot air balloon, and when they board one, it inflates on its own. I thought that was kind of cool. A splash of water will hit an earth person and they'll grow flowers or leaves. So on a visual level and an animation level, it's all really well done. I have no issues there. The other half of this film that I didn't really know much about going into it is essentially centering around Ember's father, who starts this business when they move to Element City, and he wants her to take over when he retires and essentially adopt the family legacy. Ember, on the other hand, is on a journey of self-discovery. We've seen this 100 times. This is obvious Disney metaphor number 2, and I think they overuse this one way too much. I just watched the movie Coco not that long ago, and there are so many similarities between the arc that she goes on in this movie and the protagonist of that film does. And I know it might be kind of unfair to criticize two very different movies for using similar themes, or at least one similar theme, but they're both made under the same studio, and again, I think Disney has done this time and time again, and I think they've executed it a lot better in some of their other films than they have in this case. I mean, maybe not beat for beat, but how many times have we at the very least seen a rebellious teenage character trying to break free from their family traditions or what their parents want them to do and go on a journey of self-discovery? It just feels like it's been done to death, and it really doesn't need to be as big of a part of the story here as it is. So story-wise, we've got two pretty big things going on at the same time. One of them I really like, the other one I find to be a bit generic and derivative. However, I really like the two lead characters as well as their voice actors. The visuals are pretty spectacular, and there's enough heartwarming emotion in the climax of this film that I'm comfortable giving it a mild recommendation. However, this is not one of those Pixar films that's going to move you to tears, at least most likely. I did see some people saying they got teared up towards the end of this one. I personally didn't, but I did find it to be a very just comfortable viewing experience where you can sit there and enjoy the visuals, enjoy the characters, and just, I don't know, it's the type of movie that just has a lot of feel-good vibes. So I'm going to give Elemental 3 out of 5. It's not a great film, especially by Pixar's standards, but it's okay. It's definitely worth watching if you're into these. If you want to bring your kids to something entertaining to watch, this will certainly do. As always, be sure to drop down into the comments and let me know what you think of this film, and also what is your favorite Pixar film as a whole. That's going to be a really tough choice. I don't even know what I would answer that question with. I think it would take some real time to think on that one. Anyways, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.